Help! Help me! Help! Help!
No!
Help me, please! Help me find a job or talk about career and calling. Oh my goodness, is that what we're going to talk about today? Is finding employment and what is meaningful and gainful employment and what does it mean to have a calling? We're here to help you with that. For those of you who don't know, this is not a self-help podcast. In fact, this is a ministry and culture podcast called Staircase to Nowhere. My name is David. I'm joined by my two best friends, and we have a special celebrity guest tonight. Let's start with Mr. Big Cheese himself.
I just want to put out there that David slipped in that we're his best friends. So
Best friend!
I don't think he even meant to say it, but he can't take it back. This is Sam, David Neel's best friend, coming at you from Louisville, Kentucky. I do street community outreach with young adults here in Louisville. And then I'm going to pass it on to my other fellow best friend of David Neel.
Absolutely. Last week we were boyfriends. This week we're best friends.
Best friends.
Which one's better?
Can't get enough of us. I think when you hold both titles, it's just a true accomplishment. When you're not only boyfriends but best friends, it's it's truly marvelous.
True Jonathan and David love.
Okay, Mister. But we do have a guest with us today. And
wait, who's Noah? We didn't hear who Noah is.
You didn't let me introduce myself. Hello, I'm Noah.
Okay.
I'm a director of youth and local outreach. It's different than Sam's street and community outreach with young adults.
They sound so similar now.
It sounds so similar. It's so different.
They're both nonprofits that help with young people.
Some people are homeless, some are not.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That is a great synopsis of our day and age, Noah. That is really astute. Some people are homeless, some are not. Welcome to the American political landscape.
Before we introduce our guest, I want to
hear.
I think before we introduce the guest, I want to hear the update from last week, Noah.
Yes, we received an email. If you listened to last week's episode, Trey Calvin sent us an email talking about churches that play secular music, and he gave us an Easter update. Hope you all had a wonderful Easter worshiping our risen Savior without any ridiculous tricks that the church played. And Trey sent us an email. He said, okay, update. The church I mentioned above played My Sacrifice by Creed for Easter weekend.
That's a bold move. It's a bold move.
You want to sing a little bit of it for us, Noah?
Is that the one that goes, look at this graph?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No. But you can send us an email, staircasepod@gmail.com. It might get mentioned on an episode.
Especially if you had a weird thing that happened at Easter. We'd love to hear strange Easter stories.
Did your pastor invite an oiled up sword swallower to Easter?
That's a callback.
Yeah, I still want to see how that one church did if they upped last year's Easter performance. I need to check online, see if that changed. Was it James River Church or whatever it was? So
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
That was the one
guest. You can't talk yet. You haven't been introduced.
Yeah. Anyway, well, let's introduce tonight's guest. Do you guys want to introduce our guest?
I think you should, David, because you have a very special relationship with our guest.
Some could say so. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I was going to say when he said, my two best friends here, and I was like, it's either me and Judah or Sam and Noah. And I learned my place.
It's either your spouse.
You're my best friends. Who are you? Mysterious voice.
I am Kaitlin Neel, David's wife.
Hey.
I'm
trying
to think what you guys... Yeah, I went to Easter Sunday. Did not see any pyrotechnics or any sword swallowing. But yeah,
what kind of work do you do?
Work at Taylor University with David as well.
Oh, wow, they're so cute.
I always think about David when he says that too, that I'm like, do we need to clarify, like, these views do not represent Taylor University's views on calling.
Oh.
I think it's pretty self-evident. Yeah.
You're like, this guy's... So I work in our calling and career office here at Taylor. Nice. And then, we live... So we live in the residence hall, so people always ask me, they're like, what's it like living with 300
Wait, so what
men?
is it like living in a
And I'm just
residence
like,
hall as a woman?
I don't really interact. Like, I know the
I
guys.
close my
but I-
eyes.
You just
I
always hear
live in
farts
our own
and,
apartment.
and smell burps.
It is noisy a lot of times.
That's just from you, David.
All hours of the day.
Yeah, and Judah. Wow.
so
Well, that's
funny.
a perfect segue into tonight's topic of conversation. Last week after our podcast, we were like, what do we talk about next? And I said, you know what conversation I would have loved to have had as a 22-year-old, fresh out of college, trying to figure out what to do, is career and calling, or calling and career. And so we kind of decided, as the three of us, now that we're kind of in dream jobs, or at least jobs that we like,
Enjoy.
to have
We're
a
all
conversation.
vocationally satisfied for once.
We are, yeah. For the first time in a long time, we are vocationally satisfied. To have a conversation about that. And so I brought it up, and then they said, why would we talk to David when Kaitlin is an easy phone call away to talk about career and calling? And so tonight we're going to get into that a little bit. So if you're on the other side of your career, like if you have one, think back to the times when you had a difficult time, or maybe in between jobs or in high school trying to figure out what to do next. That's kind of the lens we're going to look at tonight, is when you're unsure of what your vocation is going to be, how do you move forward? So you guys ready?
Oh yeah, I'm
yeah.
so ready. I have a question for
in.
you, Niels, because I think it's pretty cool that you guys have landed in jobs that you like, but I also know you've done like a ton of jobs along the way.
Oh,
You know? And so I'm interested, like, what that journey felt like for you. Did you feel like you didn't have a clear sense of calling? Did you feel like you were waiting on God's job for you? Did you feel like you knew it's going to be in some general lane, but didn't know exactly what it would look like?
Well, and I was gonna say, we can talk about it too. So a lot of my work, like my average day, is talking about like what should I major in? What should I do? And this idea, and I almost think this is maybe like, I don't know if it's worse in Christian circles, but this idea of like your calling, like, are you doing, like, what are you called to? And I feel like I still, even in our office, like, I don't know if there's a specific like, oh, I'm called to do this, or like a calling.
To do a specific job.
Yeah, and that's where, so it's interesting. I was going to ask, we can talk about it too. The idea of like career versus calling, and I like that our office is called the calling and career office. That career is just a part of your calling. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, to answer the question, I could get into.
Why don't you just start with the jobs you've done? Like together, you guys list all the jobs you've done.
So I studied business here at Taylor, marketing management systems, and thought I would do, I think, more like marketing design work, and then got married to David, and who was pursuing ministry. And I grew up in the church, but not by any means, like, I would say, in active ministry, like no clue what I was stepping into. So then my vocational like careers followed kind of where we lived in different seasons. So I've worked in financial aid at higher education, so at the school we were at, and then we moved, and I worked at a flower shop for a season, worked at a local city, like town.
You were a temp?
Then I had a temp job as I was transitioning, and ended up, and that is kind of part of my story too, was like in a really unhealthy work environment, and ended up just quitting and not having anything lined up, and kind of hit this rock bottom of like, Lord, what am I supposed to do? And just really overwhelmed, and I think there's a lot of pressure around calling, career, and things like that. And I was just like, I'm supposed to have this career. Like, I'm a business student. I'm supposed to be in this corporate America. And in that moment, I had a random lady from our church say, like, you're kind of artsy. Would you ever like teach art? And I was like, what? And I was like, actually, yeah, I would love to do that. And so I ended up teaching art at a small Christian school. And that, I love my work now too, but that was one of my favorite jobs. And it was definitely this moment where I think sometimes in a lot of our career paths, you have to not hit rock bottom, but it's that moment of like, okay, Lord, I remember saying to God, I'm like, it literally has to be you, because I'm like done. I don't know where to go, what to do. And yeah, so I taught art and then kind of stayed in education for a while and worked at a private school in another town we lived in, and then came to Taylor. And now I'm working in the calling and career office.
She hasn't had as many weird jobs as me.
I mean, kind of.
All right,
yeah.
let's hear your weird jobs then, David.
Hey, worked at concession stand. I did live sound and media. I did landscaping. I worked at a horse farm shoveling manure. I was a general worker for this old lady, just like replacing light bulbs for this doctor. That was like a 10-hour a week job. Just like their mansion was so big, just replacing lights.
Oh my god!
Lights are constantly going out.
I managed a paintball field. I worked at a camp. I managed a high ropes course. I was a youth pastor, then an associate pastor. I worked as a bicycle mechanic in a couple different capacities. I managed a co-working space. I was a killing pastor, as in like I was the one who killed a church. That was my job, was to like bury a church. I was a barista. I was a head pastor. I was a temp middle school, high school social studies teacher. I was a campus pastor for a middle school, elementary, high school. And then I was a normal pastor. And then a hall director and an adjunct professor. I think those. Am I missing any jobs?
REI.
The bike mechanic.
Yeah, bike mechanic. Yeah.
Starbucks during COVID.
Yeah, I said barista.
Oh yeah.
So, I've also that's it. That's all the jobs I've had. Think of all the W2s I've had to fill out.
Yeah, that's a lot of W2s. When you were in those seasons of kind of odd jobs, did you feel like, man, God, what are you doing with my life?
Oh,
or did you feel like you have this like clear calling, like you were hoping it would be ministry, you were hoping it would go a direction?
No, there was a season where I'm convinced half the churches in Indiana had my resume on file.
For good reasons or bad reasons?
Well, I had quit my job, my first like full-time job as a youth pastor, associate pastor. And it was like right around the time COVID hit, and I was trying to find gainful employment. And so I had sent out all these different applications and nothing was happening. I wasn't getting anything. And so I had played a trick in my head saying like, oh, God was done with me. He didn't need me anymore. And so I wasn't ever going to do ministry again. I had messed up the chance he gave me at the church before. And so he was done with me. And so.
Wow, the harvest is plentiful and we're done with these workers.
Yeah, exactly. And
we give them one chance.
So that's when I applied and got the job at REI.
Yeah, because we moved to in the Indianapolis area, and he applied to all these jobs. And now as a career counselor, like I'm like, oh, that's probably not the best job search strategy. Fun fact, but it was this moment. Like I would say it was very formative for us that he like got to fill in at a church, and we were like I remember saving the bulletin, and I was like, this is so precious. Like I'm so excited he's getting to preach this Sunday, because it was just like we don't know when. Like
I'd be able to
not
preach
like
again.
because it's like I think we knew hopefully eventually, but it was just like we don't. There's no. Yeah, I don't know. Like we didn't realize how much we took that for granted. I think when he was in a full-time role, and so then when we stepped back into ministry, we're like, well, every Sunday's a blessing, because like we went through a season where we were like, this is a bulletin, like his name's on this bulletin, like we.
So that's honestly, I was grateful on the backside of that time of working at REI and finding the ministry, because I feel like it humbled me, and molded me and shaped me and healed me. And it was exactly what I needed that season of not having ministry work, because it helped me to like understand what normal people experience at work. And it helped me to understand I didn't have all the solutions and all the answers, and that I still was in process, and I was still someone who needed further refined and molded by God. And so, I'm thankful for that season tough as it was, even there was a couple months where I worked at this one really difficult place, and it was really hard for me. But again, it was very shaping for us. And so not a lick of any of the jobs I've had have been wasteful. This was the funny part, is the job I have now. When I was like applying, they're like, "Oh, this is perfect. Like, you were a barista. Well, half of your job is having coffee with students, and you were a bike mechanic. And like our big training day is we do this 55-mile bike trip to northern Michigan." And so I'm like, these are two perfect jobs that we need in our hall directors. So I was like, "Oh, that's kind of fun that God used these funny little times for this."
Yeah.
So,
What jobs have you?
Yeah.
wait, Sam had a question.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, all the things you just shared, how you would counsel people, because I come from a space and had the mindset for a while, like you mentioned it, like basically if you feel called to ministry or you feel like what it means to be called as a Christian, there was a time in my life where I would have felt like if I wasn't in the pulpit, then I wasn't fulfilling my calling or something. Or I could feel like if I'm not preaching the word on Sundays, then I'm not living up to the calling that has been placed in my life. And I've changed my view on that over the years, but I would be curious to ask, like, it sounds like you're in a position where you're counseling students all the time, who I'm sure are coming to you with like, I feel called to ministry, or I feel called as a Christian. Like, I don't even know what that means. How, and David, just kind of what you were saying, like, just kind of this idea of nothing is wasted. Like, it's not like, just how do you counsel people who maybe feel like, I want to do what God has called me to? One, I'm trying to figure out what that is, but how do you encourage people and counsel people when they feel like, I feel like he's calling me to do more than I'm doing right now, and I don't know where to go next? Like, how do you help people? I don't know it's specific and stuff, but I just want to raise that because I know there's people, because there's a time in my life where I was like, I feel like I'm not doing what God has called me to do. And it was hard to believe that the time wasn't being wasted when I wasn't behind the pulpit or something. So there's a lot of questions in there, but I just want to set that up, I guess.
Yeah. No, and I was going to say so like in our office, we talk a lot about that. We hope to help students walk through these like two existential questions. And I'm like, this is so true, that it's the questions of like, who am I and what am I supposed to do? And so it's like, I think hopefully in everyone's life, they come to this point of like, who am I? And like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Right. Like if this doesn't feel fulfilling or things like that. And so, I feel like calling can feel very broad. I think I maybe, feel like my perspective, studying business, and maybe because I was a Christian, but part of my story is like, I always thought, and I still believe this, like business as missions, that when I was studying business and thinking I was going to go more the corporate realm, that it's a way to live out my calling. So who I am as a Christian and what do I do can be lived out in the business sector, and it's doing business really well. And there is a lot of, even in that, it's like, how do you ethically do business well and things like that. But when I counsel students, I think I've been part of services where it's like, if you feel called to ministry, step forward, or things like that, and phrasing where it's like, oh yeah, called to be a Christian. And it's like, well, I'm studying business and I think I still feel like I want to serve Jesus in that. And I do think that's somewhere where maybe the church, it seems like the language doesn't seem that important, but it is, that it's like, actually you doing work in the public health field is just as important. Like God created us with different gifts. And so doing work really well in that space is your calling. And so I think just counseling students in that, and just having, for some of them, it's like just the first time they've heard that they haven't heard, me doing physical therapy is actually edifying the kingdom of God, and it's using the skills and the way God made me, to add to his kingdom. And so we talk a lot about, I don't know if there's a like author about this too, but there's like we talk about like, I have a Venn diagram I'll show, but like a primary calling and then a secondary calling too. So this idea that your primary calling is first and foremost to be like a Christian and a good neighbor. And if you're married, a good spouse, a good friend. And so that your calling is not your career, but you might have this kind of secondary calling, this piece of like, so the who am I is you are a Christian, a child of God, first and foremost. And then what are you going to do is more, okay, there might be careers that are a better fit for you. So I think it's, long story short, when counseling students, it would be like, okay, how did God make you? And what kind of work is meaningful to you? Which I don't know for you guys are in, I would say more like, and this is the term, how would you describe ministry, like full-time
ministry?
Vocational Christian service.
Yeah.
So they would have said it a generation ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, and your wives are in not
the secular realm.
Yeah. But both, would you say how would they describe their calling?
Well, that's good. Well, they're not here. And I know Rebecca wishes
Get them in here.
You know, even today when I prayed for our dinner, me and Rebecca, I just prayed and thanked God for the ways that we got to serve him today. And just like having that mindset that all of our work, like 1 Corinthians says, whatever you do, do it all to the glory of God. And so I know that the work that she does, she doesn't do it for people or to please a boss, or she wants to use the gifts God's given her to serve God and serve him, and then for the good of others as well. And so, I think that this is something that I really saw lived out at Taylor, and something special about it being a Christian liberal arts institution, that it wasn't just a Bible college. It wasn't just people going to do like full-time church work. It was engineers and medical students and business people. And our professors had such a rich theology of their discipline that each one like saw how their discipline fit into pushing back darkness, restoring order in the world, being a part of God's kingdom.
Yeah.
And I feel like even in chapel, so often like the chapel speakers would just share a testimony of like, here's how I serve God in the film industry. Here's how I serve God in Bible translation. Here's how I serve God in X industry. And I think that in general, the church doesn't talk about that as well. And that we've really like kind of bought into the same sacred secular divide that like the Catholic priesthood had forever, that like there are vocations like to be a priest or to be a nun, and then everybody else just has work. And like I truly believe from Genesis 1 that God's called us to have dominion and to rule in his image. And so like the work that we do in the world matters, and that it's important as the church to kind of help our people develop a bigger worldview and a theology of their work, to see like why their specific work matters for God's kingdom, even more than just sharing the gospel with a coworker, which I think is an important aspect of it, being a witness and testimony. But like in Rebecca's work in public health research, like the research she does helps people in natural disasters, helps hospitals be ready for when a hurricane comes so that less people die and people get the care that they need. Like this is important, and it's good godly work. And I think that a lot of people can start to see their work that way if they think about it and develop like a rich biblical theology. Yeah.
Kaitlin, I think the framework you guys use is really helpful. Like the primary and secondary, because the primary calling of all Christians is about who you are called to be, not what you are called to do. Right. This is me talking, I guess. Like, and I think in a narrow understanding of calling, we get those things backwards, because the reality is you can be, if you are like, you can do a quote unquote classic, Christian vocational job. Like if you are serving as a pastor, but you're not a person of character, like you're not living out God's calling for your life.
Not
you know what I
being
mean?
a pastor.
Like you're not truly doing the you're getting it backwards. And I think we so often jump to what is the thing God wants me to do, and not who does God want me to be? Because and your lives are a testimony, right? Like if you can be the type of person of character, somebody who embodies the fruits of the Spirit, somebody who lives by the life and ethic of Jesus, it kind of doesn't matter where you plug in, because the world's going to be changed by the type of person that you are. Like if you're pastoring and God has that for you in that season, that's amazing. If you're repairing bikes, like that's also redeeming work. That's good because the Spirit's empowering you to do that. So I think it's almost undoing that narrow view of calling, that to be called to Christian work is to do this thing, is right, to like
work full-time at church,
work full-time at church, be a full-time missionary or something. But a better understanding is like, who is God calling me to be, not just what is he calling me to do? And I think he does call us to do specific things. Like the Bible talks about that. Like there's times in our lives where I've felt that God's like, I think God has led me this direction to go to this place and do this work. But, yeah, I think as Christians, and all that to answer the question about, same thing with Erica, my wife, we've talked about her work because she does marketing for a like a indoor air quality and like environmental stuff, like all that goodness, not explicitly Christian, but like who she is in her workplace is how she lives out her calling, like as a Christian, and how she loves her coworkers and is a light for Jesus and all those things. So I don't know. And I don't work in a church right now. And I so desperately wish that there were, like I live in Louisville, there's a lot of seminaries here. I wish there were seminary students coming to work alongside me, in the space that I'm in. Cause I think it would be better for the systems that I'm working in if more Christians were like, oh, I feel this burden for XYZ work. Maybe that means engaging, spaces more than just the church or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts.
I have a 1,000 thoughts about this. So I'm going to say every single one, starting in reverse. 1,000. I do think as someone, and all of us have been on both sides, right? All four of us have been on one side of ministry and the other side of doing full-time professional ministry. And I think it's dishonest to say that there's not a difference, right? Like Noah, you were the most recent of us who was not in full-time vocational ministry kind of work, right? Like the work you were doing at the Y was very different than the work you're doing at the church, correct? And so I think it is important to say there is a distinction, right? Like to say to get rid of the barrier between, I don't think is helpful because it is different, right? Like the work I'm doing at Taylor is important and it's wonderful work I get to do, but it is different than when I was a full-time pastor,
church,
right? In a church. And so almost the way I've had to pivot it is like I almost am seeing full-time vocational ministry as the coaches, right? And then everyone else were the players, right? It's almost like what I would almost say is like it's a flip of the old school of the like a vocation and work, or it's like the people who are in the church, your job is to equip and enable and coach all of us to go and do the actual work of being out there being the hands and feet of Christ, right? Because like I think of when I was in ministry, I didn't interact with non-Christians basically, right? Like 60 hours a week I was in the church building, right?
Boo.
And so I think there is, but the work was meaningful, right? Like I preached message that changed people's life. That sounds very grandiose, but I've had someone tell me, he's like, the sermon you preached got me to go help with youth ministry, right? And so the work I was doing was important, but there's a difference, I believe. And so that's one thing. The other thing and this is a challenge for all of us is, anytime you meet someone, what's the first thing you ask? And and here's the thing, I'm calling this out, is how do we start our podcast?
Our job titles.
Banter. Oh, excuse me. With our job titles. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, it's helpful, right? Like, because I also I don't want to be the one to just like swing the pendulum. Like, well, we don't even talk about that. It's like, well, no, it gives us context of where we are, what we do with the majority of our time. So like talking about our employment and talking about what our job title is not inherently an issue, but it's important to acknowledge it's like, well, Sam has the title director, right? So he's obviously higher up than all, like, it's like, well, that's like, you need to find that sweet spot between the two. It's like, don't say, we'll never say your job description, don't talk about work. But you also need to be careful not to just go into that's the only thing you know about a person, right? It's like, oh, he just got partner at his firm. It's like, well, what's he do with the rest of his time? So
I will say, when there was a season where I was just like unemployed, and it's so funny, and that's where I'm like, it's not like judgment by any means, but you don't realize until you're there when it's like you're at church. It's like, hi, what's your name and where do you work? Like, it just, you assume, and it was like, oh, nowhere right now. Like, there's no awkward way.
I don't think we've come up with a good question for that, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be better at this, so I'm asked, so what do you do with your time? And people get weirded out by that question too.
Like, woodworking,
right? So I'm like, so I got to figure out a way to ask, because it's helpful, right? Like, oh, I'm a bus driver. That's awesome. I'd love to hear what it's like to drive a bus, right? But it's like, what if someone is unemployed, right? What if someone's between jobs, right? It's like, it's the same. I like to ask people where they're from, but like that can be kind of a touchy subject. So I just kind of ask where do you call home? And that question doesn't work at Taylor, because they always say, oh, I'm on the 3rd floor of this building. No, where
are you from, bro?
Right.
Wow.
So
I'm glad they feel so at home in your building.
So I've noticed these issues, and we're a part of it. So if anyone can think of a better way to ask, like, what do you do with your time? I don't know.
I take it as a good challenge of like, what's another question I can ask somebody to get to know them in a new setting,
Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
feel awkward.
Yeah, it's funny. And I will say,
I hate the so who is Noah?
What do I need to know about David?
Yeah.
Can I ask, what do you do? I'm shifting a little bit.
Like,
we're all talking about calling and stuff. I'll put my wife on blast, because I think she represents a lot of people, not on blast, but like the Christian, the faithful Christian who's like, I don't resonate with that idea of feeling called to something, like, I think me, Noah, and David all probably came in space where I think there was even this expectation of like, are you wink, wink, wink called to ministry? And you're like,
yeah, we have to affirm a call to ministry. Yeah,
like that. Well, me and Noah, at least in our world, but like for the Christian who's like, I don't know. I just know there's tons of Christians who maybe don't resonate with that. I've never felt called to any sort of work. Like how, I don't know, just is that bad? Like, I know there's people that might feel guilty. Like, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't like feel called to ministry. Like, am I deficient? Like, how do we help people navigate? Like, if they're like, no, I don't feel like this particular burden or desire to feel like called to ministry, but how do I still be what's my job as like a faithful Christian or something in this equation? What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, I don't know if you guys have like thoughts on theology of work or like have studied. I've read Garden City by John Mark Comer. Have you guys read that?
No.
I would say it's one of my favorite books in regards to like vocation and work, but it's the idea of work and meaningful work, and thinking about in the garden, that like God calls Adam to work and name the animals, and that is like before the fall. And so work is not a part of the fall. It's what was part of the creation order,
the original order.
The garden, spoiler on the book. And so that's where like even that you think about like the gardening naming of animals is not inherently preaching a sermon, like work was actually working in the garden before it was
manual
preaching a sermon. So it's very much part of creation. And that's where there's also a lot of like theological thoughts on, will we work in heaven? And people have opinions on the work here, like is the skills that we're building here, will that be part of heaven? And I don't know if you guys have like, will we work in heaven? It's a heavy theological question, but that's so all that to say is I do think work, other types of work, I think it's just not talked about as much, maybe. I don't know. Like in regards to doing marketing well, like I'm like, I think God created different skills. I would say, and I do think when I'm talking, so if some of my work is navigating with students, they come in and they're like, I'm studying exercise science, but I hate all my classes and I cannot imagine doing this for the rest of my life. And so
I hate muscles.
And I'm a senior. No.
every now and then I'm like,
Muscles.
okay. And I would say that's very like the average day. I have somebody come in and they're like, I'm doing this major, but I really don't like, they're like, I'm studying accounting, but being in an office 9 to 5 sounds like the death of me, you know? And it's like, well, accounting might not be for you then. And I think people always feel like, oh, I don't know what my calling is then. But I'm like, there are also things where it's like, hey, do you enjoy like getting, and that's where a lot of it's just asking questions. Like, do you like spreadsheet? It sounds silly, but like, okay, do you like the spreadsheets part? A lot of times I'll ask like, what classes do you enjoy the best? Or,
That's good.
and they might be like, well, yeah, I'm in my like environmental science class right now. And I just like can't stop talking about it. And we read this book and I'm like, okay, tell me more about that. And I'll find that people actually do have more thoughts on like this type of work is enjoyable. So even for Erica, I imagine like compared to, I'm trying to think of something she would not be interested in. Like
Theologizing?
I'm like, philosophy. If you're like, my goodness, stop talking about abstract ideas. I just want to get something like, I'm very task oriented. Like there's a skill set that it's like, hey, God created you with gifts that are different than these other people. And I think that when I think about discerning calling is like, no, there are things that are unique to you that like even David and I approach life very differently. So for students, I'm like it depends on, they have unique skill sets. And I think that God, when it comes to calling, that God does create people differently. And so there's certain things people think they don't have any idea of what they're called to do. But I'm like, I actually bet if you like lean into that there are things you do and do not enjoy doing. And even, it sounds cliche, but like feel the peace of the Lord. Like I've heard somebody say that one time. And I think that's really true of like, this is restful or like meaningful work to me. So.
I remember a meeting that I had with your boss, Kaitlin, Jeff Opperly.
Yeah.
When I was a senior at Taylor and I don't know, it was like October and I was graduating in May and I was like, I don't know what my job is going to be. And he was like, your job doesn't exist yet. Like they probably aren't hiring for it now because you aren't ready until May. So
yeah.
Like, but what he challenged me to do was to kind of like write out 3 different 5-year plans for my life. I don't know if this is an exercise he does often, but just like
it's so there's a book, I wouldn't say lots of book dropping here, but Designing Your Life is a book.
We gotta put it in the show notes. Affiliate link.
And what he said to do was just like come up with 3 different ideas of what the next 5 years of your life could look like, and then kind of step back from it and look at them and see what themes are the same throughout all 3 of them. And he's like, the themes of those 3 are your calling, and it shows it's not that particular job that has to be the thing.
Noah, what were your 3 5-year plans?
Yeah, we gotta hear.
Oh, you guys want to hear that?
Yeah, do you have
Are
it?
you pulling
I'll pull
them
it up.
I see. Oh, you have the document.
No way.
I do have the document.
All right, while we
man.
wait, I'll
what did I call?
I'll
we generally
fill
have students also do like a dream. Yeah.
No, keep going. I was going to be dumb and say, well, I'll throw to an ad break and try to make up an ad for
Do it.
a
All right. So I wrote this
LinkedIn
October of 20. Oh, this is so funny.
Okay, David, Kaitlin, and me, really quick. Everybody pick your own. What do you think one of Noah's 5-year plans was?
Noah's 5-year plan at that time was, one of them was to be married and have a kid and be the head pastor of a church.
Okay.
Just one of the...
Not at all correct. Not
Okay,
at all.
Kaitlin, quick. What was in 5-year plan of Noah?
Working at a university as a professor of, but I'm trying to think about Christian ministry.
Okay, Sam, go.
I'm gonna say he was like, one of them was like working in some sort of Christian production space, writing content for like a Lifeway adjacent thing. So like
You mean
writing
like the
Christian
new-
curriculum and skit
new
guy
Exodus
stuff.
movie?
Yeah, doing
Okay.
the new Exodus movie. All right, what were your
Guys-
5-year plans?
These are very funny, but my 3 5-year plans were actually very similar to what happened in my life, to be
No.
honest.
All 3.
Okay, not all 3
Work
exactly.
at a
but-
YMCA in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Okay, so this is what I wrote in 2018, okay? So I have 3 5-year plans. The first
If it
is
says
called
global pandemic, I'm gonna lose my mind.
parachurch. The second is
Yes.
called church ministry, and the third is called China.
Yeah.
China.
So
I know.
1, parachurch. I get the job with Youth for Christ in San Antonio. Phil Warman gets the job at the Presbyterian Church. We live together, support each other as we minister to youth in the city. I'm far away from family, living in an unfamiliar culture, state, and environment. I get to learn Spanish language and engage with other cultures. I learn how to minister to unchurched youth.
That happened
Wow.
exactly just in Miami.
Yeah, shocker.
Exactly.
That's what
The
you did.
second option in parachurch is, or I get the job with Youth for Christ in Miami. I live 2 hours from family in Naples. I'm excited to live in Florida, be close to family. I move in with a roommate. I get connected, a roommate that I get connected with through the church.
That
Maybe
happened.
it's not a great situation. I get to learn Spanish language and engage with other cultures. I learn how to minister to unchurched youth. I don't do this forever. It's taxing. I eventually leave to go to seminary or work in a church.
No,
That is
no,
exactly
no
what
way.
happened.
This is not. You just wrote
Boo.
this.
I did not. I promise I literally did exactly that. All right. And then I have 2 options for church ministry.
Let's hear it.
Go
Church
through 'em
ministry,
quick,
number
because
1.
we know that they didn't work out.
I work as a youth pastor in a Southern Baptist church in South Florida. I disagree with some things, but all in all, it's comfortable. I I run programs, I speak, I plan things, I try to build relationships with students, but get frustrated by all the bureaucratic tasks I have to do. I help the
So
church grow in
angsty.
being more missional minded. I don't know what to do about girls in the youth group that feel called to ministry. Hopefully, I'm being mentored and cared for by my supervisor. There's a closed loop. We don't work together well with other churches in the area.
My
New ideas are
gosh.
not received well.
Prophetic.
I feel
This is-
upset I'm back where I started before Taylor.
I'm in a dark room. I'm wearing all black.
Started.
Music is blaring. Strobe light is on. You know,
Or I work as a youth pastor in a church of another denomination in Florida. It's suspect to my family. I disagree with some things, but they have women in leadership, which
Oh.
terrifies mentors in my life.
this is so funny.
I run programs, I speak, I plan things, blah, 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 same as the other one. I leave this church within 5 years to attend seminary or go to another church. Why? Because that's what everyone does.
Oh,
Maybe I do some sort of
Right.
missions pastor / community outreach / pastoral care role.
wow.
Wow. Well,
And
go ahead.
What's the
What
last
are you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Option 3, I say screw it and move to China. I feel God distinctly calling me there.
Oh.
I work in the classroom with middle and high school teachers or students teaching English and love it. The structure kills me a bit, but I learn more from them than they do from me.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
It is so good to be with unchurched people on a regular basis. I love the discipling in the local church, equipping leaders to multiply. I learn more about church planting from them than they from me.
Oh my.
Mm.
I
So
learn
humble.
language. It's hard. 2 years in, I'm not entirely fluent, and I still struggle with reading. I miss my family a lot. It's a 2-year commitment. After that, I either love it and keep on going, meet my wife and stay longer, maybe raise MKs, maybe then move back to the US to bring what we learned about mission back home. Or I love it and keep going as a single man. Later move back to the US to bring what I learned about mission back home. Or I leave and come home to the US after 2 years. Maybe I go to seminary then. Maybe I feel more out of place than ever.
Mm.
You
I will
could've had
say
a
for the
diary.
audience, you wrote that you'd been to China twice, right?
Twice.
At that point, yeah.
I
So it's not a total random like China. Like you'd been twice already, and
I
we
had
were
been
like,
twice and there was a missions agency recruiting me.
yeah.
Like what I'm talking about there is a real, like it was a thing. But man, you guys, if I went to China like in 2019, it would have been a disaster.
During
Man.
COVID.
Yeah, Jesus really protected me from that.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like just for the sake of time and reeling it in, I want to start to kind of land the plane. Maybe you're listening and you're not like Noah Nemni, who literally to a T wrote out a 5-year plan,
A
wrote out
prophet.
3 and chose one of them and did it. Maybe,
He follows
maybe,
through. Noah Nimney follows through.
yeah, maybe you're more like a Carol or a Neil who says, I think I should do this. And then you end up repairing bikes or selling shoes or doing all sorts of other things until you eventually hone in and kind of maybe get there eventually. This is, I guess, I'm introducing this staircase to nowhere section or staircase to somewhere or whatever. Like, I don't know if I don't want to be the shot caller to say we're done talking, but just like if we can wrap up the conversation about
We're done.
yeah no
Noah
just
found
like
his future,
I know it's just like how do you recover from Noah saying I'm gonna do this and I did it.
That's crazy.
Okay, you know what? Let me say when I left working at a church that was a church plant that was like my dream, I totally felt like lost. And like, what the heck am I doing with my life? And I got the kind of job that I thought I wanted, and it didn't turn out how I hoped. And that was extremely disappointing. And I did end up with, I'm going to seminary and I don't know what's next. And I did end up with, I'm moving to Atlanta and I'm looking for part-time work, and I applied to Wendy's. So like, I also had these moments of, oh my gosh, what is happening with me? And God really provided with the job at the Y, and then that Wendy's ended up closing anyway. So I'm glad I wasn't working there.
China, Wendy's, God's going before
everything
But-
closed.
All that to say, like, yeah, what happens when you get to the end of your 5-year plan, or you get everything you thought you ever wanted, but it's not what you wanted at all? And just like having to still trust God with, okay, what's the next stage of my life? What's the next steps? And like, I can't script everything.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I'll say, as your friend, it didn't feel like you were following the 5-year plan in real time.
I totally like forgot about this.
Also,
It's
as your
funny.
friend, we didn't know you had written out your 5-year plan to the
Noah,
day.
Noah's making existential phone calls to us like, what do I do? While he's looking at a Google Doc. He's like, I know exactly what I'm
I know
gonna
where to
do.
go now.
He's like, what should happen next? Maybe I should move to Miami.
I should meet next. I meet a friend who marries a friend of mine who introduced me to a friend that I end up marrying
her.
That'll be it.
Wow.
But
go ahead, Noah.
I mean, what I was saying, Kaitlin, that like that Jeff encouraged me with is look for the themes. And when I looked at the themes of these 3 things, I realized like I want to spend 5 years in my first job. I want to work with unchurched people, and I want to go to seminary. And like that became kind of like clear, like, okay, like I'm looking for a job where I can serve unchurched people. And like there was a church in Lafayette, Indiana that wanted to hire me. And remember that?
Yeah.
And my dad felt like, wow, this is like a real job, and they're paying you real money and you've got student loans. You should do this. And then I was like, yeah, but Youth for Christ, I can fundraise. And it's like a 6-week internship with maybe a job after. And I felt like that was the direction to go, even though the economics made less sense, because I felt more secure in the calling of like, God's calling me to unchurched people. And like, I want to be in a context where I can reach the lost. And so, yeah, I think like doing this experience of like thinking through really kind of showed me more about the themes of my life and where I felt like God was leading me. That helped me make the kind of job decisions.
That's good. So here's what I'm thinking for our staircase to nowhere. How we land Sam's
To somewhere.
Boeing 747.
Somebody land my plane.
Kaitlin, what you have? Let's say if you were to give advice to yourself, 22-year-old Kaitlin, right?
Mhm.
21,
Oh.
22-year-old Kaitlin, 22-year-old Noah, 22-year-old Sam. What advice would you give for our staircase to somewhere? Of I don't know what to do next. I don't know what God's calling me to do.
Yeah. I was going to say, so like two pieces. One, like more just like a very practical application. I love like tips maybe. And so I was going to say things we use in our office. We do a lot of personality assessments, and then so it's designing your life. There's actually like a notebook you can buy. It's a whole thing. And that's what Noah, it's like coming up with a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. And again, thinking through like life is more than just a career. We do like the Myers-Briggs, Enneagram. We'll have them fill out. There's like Strong's interest inventory. But I think figuring out what those themes are, like you said, Noah, like it's not just like, oh, I'm good at math, so I'm going to study math. But like, oh, do you care about people? Do you want the average day to be with people? I would say like, who does your heart break for? And so, yeah, those would be practical tools we use. We use designing your life a lot in our work. And so, yeah, if I had to advise people, I think it'd be like looking at your life and seeing like what are spaces that seem to be themes. So if like for me, I look back and I'm like, oh, you were volunteering at Red Barn and at Basics, like all these children's programs, and you were always with people, but you also were really organized. Like there's themes that you don't realize are themes in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, I would say like scaling back, like it's not a career, like what are themes in your life? But then advice I would maybe give, and I'm trying to think, like, I don't know if this is a staircase to anywhere, but I think I wish somebody would have told me that like no one has it figured out. And I think even,
Yes.
I mean, you guys, it seems like you guys are in vocationally, we can't all be
Right.
Noah. But yeah, like I feel like you guys are in maybe like better vocational stages, but I'm like, I think it is a lifelong process. Like, I think even our parents are still figuring out what
I think, like I look at
True.
my dad. He was
Yeah.
he was a high school or a middle school teacher for 10 years, a pastor for 33 years, and now he runs an antique store. And every stage along the way, he makes the most of it, and he pours into his community. And he cares deeply. And does it mean he's messed up? No, it just means that's the next stage of his journey.
Yeah.
So.
And everyone's different. So some people are going to be more in the marketplace. Some might be in a church. But I think I felt so much pressure and shame when there was seasons where it wasn't what I thought it was supposed to be. So I think just grace for that. And then the last thing I would really plug to, sorry, it's like, I guess three things. The last thing
You're the expert.
would be even just like personally, like looking at the Bible, like God used Lydia and her ministry to support the New Testament ministry. But I also look at the people God uses in the Bible, and like most of the time, I say that like he did use kings and rulers and people who were very successful, but he also used a lot of broken people. And when you think about like work in the Bible, or even just like vocation, that not everyone had it together, and that God used like Moses, a murderer, like broken people. And so I think I've been in seasons where it's like, if you're listening to this and you're working somewhere and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing with my life, like what I'm not serving God. It's like, no, I think God actually uses you in every season, and that this season is for something. You don't know what it is, but over and over in the Bible, he doesn't use perfect people. He uses broken people and through lots of different seasons. So that would be my advice, is that don't, whatever Satan's telling you, make sure to check if it's what God is requiring of you, and that God uses broken people too in all seasons.
That's
what would
so
you
good.
guys?
That's great. I love it.
I think if I was to, that was cute. Okay, I'll go. If I go back in time and talk to little Sam, little Sammy, I'd encourage him that like, just because like God is calling you to ministry, he doesn't mean he's calling you to a stage. and I would have liked to have heard that sooner. And just like that, like being called to ministry and being called to like be on a platform are like not this synonymous with each other. Sometimes they can be, but not always. And I'd say that to anybody who's like maybe early on, like considering pastoral ministry or considering working in church spaces or like social services or like whatever, I don't know, but just like feeling that burden. But like be willing to do things, be willing to serve Jesus if it means you're not in front of people and have a will, like, you know, and I would also just that, Kaitlin, what you were talking about, even leaning on stories of people in the Bible, of the constant theme of like, I guess like wilderness time. And that could be like time of just like uncertainty. And like, I feel like God has this promise for me or this thing in store for me, but I feel so aimless right now. Right. And like, that is just like a theme in scripture. And it's a time of testing and it's a time of shaping and it's a time of forming. And I'm still in that, some of that now, but there were other times in my life where I really felt that was more the thing where I felt more aimless, but I look back and I'm like, that was really a time where God was shaping me and preparing me for something else. So just not feeling like you're outside of what God's calling you to do. If you feel like you're in this wilderness space or you're not, I don't know. Those are some half-baked thoughts there, but that's some stuff I wish I could go back and say to a younger version of myself. So.
Yeah, at 22, I definitely thought I knew it all. I felt like super prepared from good ministry training and just felt ready to take on the world and felt like I knew what I was doing. And was kind of in the unconscious incompetence phase of just not knowing the stuff that I didn't know. And so I think that 22-year-old Noah could have dealt better with a little more humility to think that I don't need to accomplish big things for God in my first like go at ministry. That would have helped me pace things a little bit better and think more about like personal life and like habits outside of work. And I think just less catastrophizing, like making everything feel like the thing that's happening now is the most important thing forever, instead of just like kind of the broader like big picture focus of like, yeah, this is a season and a stage, and like if you put that off a little bit longer, it probably would get better and you'd be fine. Or this isn't the biggest deal in the grand scheme. So I think I really freaked out about a lot of stuff. And
we always say to students too, your first job is your first job. And so like there's this pressure of like, I have to get the best job out of college, and that we want that for students, but it's also like it's your first job and you'll probably like, I hope it's not your first
it's only up from here.
Like it's okay. Like yeah.
I also want to say too though, my first real job was my highest paying job I've ever had.
So
that'll pull the Sam or the Noah on that one, in the sense of like, yeah, my first job was my first job, but I had a parsonage and a pension and everything. No, I just think that's a funny one. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for this conversation tonight. I think I get people asking me, and I know Kaitlin does get people asking me of like, I don't know what to do with my life. And so I wanted to, have this conversation with y'all on what's it look like to understand our calling, and like, what's it look like to understand our vocation. And, you hear a lot of people talk about work. And so, yeah, I wanted to thank you guys. Thank you, Kaitlin, and your not official representation of the CCO tonight. Or is it an official?
I don't know.
But yeah, if you have any thoughts or comments on work, or if you've, maybe if you're in between jobs and trying to figure stuff out, we'd love to help you out. So if you want to talk to us about what it looks like to look at work, I'm sure Kaitlin would even look at your resume to help you out if you want to volunteer.
Wow, offering.
And we're hiring here at Staircase to Nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Email us at staircasepod@gmail.com if you want to talk about vocation.
The new roles as head of studio at Staircase Productions. We're
Yeah.
trying to pump out about 3 new TV shows this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Big
We should
time,
start
baby.
We need to start a meme coin too. I think that's how we'll make our money.
That's true. All the money's in meme coins.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Sam, get us out of here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful show. I've been really thankful to have my 2 best boyfriends and special guest Kaitlin Neel on the show. So seriously, thank you so much for joining. I know I've learned a lot. Already getting crazy emails in from listeners. They've learned a lot. It's pandemonium out here. So, yes, thank you again for listening to all the people who are listening. We hope you enjoy your 2025 and join us back next week. Just a big old blanket. Have a great rest of your year.
Should we tell people about our possible live show?
Not yet, because I have to talk to you guys about it.
Okay.
Oh, possible live
ignore-
show
Yeah.
might be canceled.
There's a
Ignore our
50-50
started.
shot. All right, bye.
All right, 22-year-old me. Also, the beard will come in, so do not worry. The beard is coming.
Take heart.
22-year-old me. I don't know about you, but I feel in 22.
22.
All
There's
right,
a
you guys asked me.
pandemic coming.
Yeah, watch
Invest in toilet paper.
Invest in toilet paper, David.
Okay, goodbye.